Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins, an ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. The story of the 1973 D. Kennedy half-dollar begins in a decade of uncertainty and transformation across the United States. The year 1973 sat in the shadow of the Vietnam War and the unfolding Watergate scandal, a time when trust in institutions was being tested and everyday Americans were holding onto symbols of stability, including their coinage. The half-dollar itself, once a workhorse of daily commerce, had already begun fading from circulation by the early 1970s. Yet quietly, in the bustling halls of the United States Mint, millions of these coins were still being struck, including the Denver-minted 1973 D, while most would pass unnoticed through hands and drawers. A select few would eventually capture the attention of collectors, not for their face value, but for the subtle imperfections and survival stories that made them extraordinary. The 1973 D belongs to the iconic Kennedy half-dollar, first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his assassination. The coin's obverse was designed by Gilroy Roberts, featuring a dignified left-facing portrait of Kennedy, while the reverse, crafted by Frank Gasparo, showcases the presidential seal with an eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch. By 1973, the composition had already shifted away from silver, with the coin struck in copper-nickel clad, a change that disappointed some collectors but made the series more accessible. Still, the artistry remained powerful, and even in worn or toned condition, the coin carries the emotional weight of a nation remembering one of its most beloved leaders. At first glance, the mintage of the 1973 D half-dollar seems to suggest commonality. Over 83 million coins were produced at the Denver Mint that year, a figure that would typically place it firmly in the common category. But mintage alone is a deceptive metric. What truly defines rarity is how many coins survive today in collectible condition. During the 1970s, half-dollars were rarely used in daily transactions and often ended up stored in bank vaults, casino reserves, or melted into obscurity through neglect. As a result, while millions were struck, far fewer have survived with desirable surfaces, strong strikes, and minimal damage. The reality of the 1973 D is that most examples encountered today are heavily circulated, scratched, or dulled by years of handling. Coins described as scratched and toned often fall into this category, where surface abrasions and environmental exposure tell a story of real-world use. However, within this sea of ordinary pieces, there exist anomalies, coins with exceptional eye appeal despite wear, or those struck with unusual characteristics that elevate their desirability. The survival rate of high-grade specimens is surprisingly low, particularly in mint state grades where contact marks and weak strikes are common. Denver Mint coins from this era often exhibit softer details, especially in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers, making sharply struck examples significantly more sought after. What truly transforms a 1973 D half-dollar from ordinary to extraordinary is the presence of mint errors and varieties. While no widely recognized, major variety dominates headlines for this date, specialists have identified minor doubled dies, die cracks, and occasional repunched mint marks that can add substantial value. Doubled dies occur during the hubbing process, when the die receives multiple impressions slightly misaligned, creating visible doubling in the design elements. Repunched mint marks, more common in earlier decades, can still occasionally appear due to inconsistencies in manual punching processes, though by the 1970s automation had reduced their frequency. Off-center strikes and clipped planchets also appear sporadically, offering dramatic visual appeal that collectors eagerly pursue. Understanding how these errors occur adds depth to their significance. The minting process begins with die creation, where a master hub impresses the design onto a working die. Any misalignment during this stage can result in doubling. During striking, immense pressure forces the planchet between dies, and if the planchet is missed or the dies are damaged, errors such as off-center strikes or die cracks can form. Over time, repeated use of dies leads to fatigue, producing subtle anomalies that only trained eyes can detect. These imperfections, once considered flaws, have become prized markers of uniqueness in modern numismatics. Interestingly, some of the most valuable 1973 D-half dollars are not pristine mint state coins, but circulated examples with rare and visible errors. A heavily worn coin with a dramatic off-center strike or a clear doubled die can command significantly higher prices than a flawless but ordinary specimen. This flips the traditional notion of value on its head, proving that rarity and distinctiveness often outweigh simple condition. Collectors today actively search through rolls and collections, hoping to uncover these hidden treasures among otherwise common pieces. Surface preservation plays a crucial role in determining value. Natural tunning, which occurs over decades as the coin reacts with its environment, can enhance desirability when it produces attractive hues of gold, blue, or violet. However, cleaning, a common but damaging practice, can strip the coin of its originality, leaving unnatural brightness and microscopic scratches that reduce its appeal. Professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC evaluate these factors carefully, assigning grades that heavily influence market value. A scratched and toned 1973 D might fall into fine or very fine condition, typically valued modestly. But if it exhibits a rare variety or exceptional tunning, its value can climb into the hundreds or even thousands. Market values for the 1973 D-half dollar vary widely depending on condition and uniqueness. In circulated grades like fine or very fine, most examples trade for just a few dollars. In about uncirculated condition, values may rise slightly, particularly if the coin retains strong detail. Mint state examples, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, can command significantly higher prices due to their scarcity. Add a notable error or variety, and the value can increase dramatically. While no widely publicized record-breaking auction for this exact date dominates headlines, similar modern half dollars with striking errors have achieved impressive results, driven by collector demand and the visual impact of the anomaly. At the highest levels of collecting, registry set competition plays a powerful role in driving prices. Collectors compete to assemble the finest known sets of Kennedy half dollars, and even a single high-grade or unique 1973 D can become a key piece in that pursuit. Provenance, or the coin's ownership history, can further enhance its appeal, especially if it has been part of a cats nobile, enus collection or featured in major auctions. These factors combine to create moments where an otherwise overlooked coin becomes the center of intense bidding activity. In the end, the 1973 D Kennedy half dollar is a reminder that value in numismatics is not always obvious. A scratched, toned coin might seem insignificant at first glance, yet under the right circumstances, an unusual error, exceptional tunning, or rare high-grade preservation, it can transform into a highly desirable collectible. It tells a story not just of minting and metal, but of history, survival, and discovery. And while it may not be made of silver or gold, this humble half dollar proves that even the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary when rarity, condition, and collector passion align. The story of the 1974 D half dollar begins in a decade of uncertainty and transition in the United States. The early 1970s were marked by economic pressure, inflation concerns, and the lingering aftershocks of the Vietnam War. Just a year earlier, the nation had experienced the unfolding of the Watergate scandal, a political crisis that would ultimately reshape public trust in government. Yet even in this climate, Everyday objects like coins continued to flow quietly through the hands of millions, unnoticed and uncelebrated. Among them was the 1974 D-half dollar, a coin that, at first glance, seemed ordinary, but under closer inspection could hold secrets worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This coin belongs to the iconic Kennedy half-dollar series, first introduced in 1964 to honor the late President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination. Designed by chief engraver Gilroy Roberts and sculpted in part by Frank Gasparo, the coin became an instant symbol of national memory and pride. By 1974, however, the silver content that once defined earlier issues had already been removed, leaving these coins struck in copper-nickel-clad composition. Despite this, the emotional and historical weight of the series ensured its continued popularity among collectors and the general public alike. The design itself carries a quiet dignity. On the obverse, Kennedy's profile faces left, a calm yet resolute expression etched into metal. The word Liberty arches above, while the date 1974 rests below. On coins struck in Denver, a small D mint mark appears to the right of the neck truncation. The reverse features the presidential seal, an eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars representing the states. While millions of these coins were produced, subtle differences in strike quality and preservation would ultimately determine their fate in the collector market. Official records show that the Denver Mint produced over 79 million 1974 D-half dollars, a number that would typically suggest common availability. But mintage figures alone rarely tell the full story. Many of these coins entered circulation, where they experienced wear, damage, and eventual loss. Others were stored improperly, leading to environmental damage or cleaning attempts that stripped away their originality. As a result, the number of surviving coins in truly high-grade condition is far smaller than the original mintage suggests, especially when considering examples with sharp strikes and minimal contact marks. Survival rate becomes even more critical when examining strike quality. During the 1970s, the U.S. Mint was focused on mass production rather than perfection, often resulting in coins with weakly struck details, particularly in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers. Fully struck examples with crisp details are significantly scarcer and more desirable. Combine that with attractive natural toning, subtle hues of gold, blue, or violet formed over decades, and you begin to see how certain coins rise above the rest. Collector demand tends to focus heavily on these visually appealing and technically superior specimens. Varieties and mint errors add another layer of intrigue to the 1974 D-half dollar. While no major headline variety dominates this issue, specialists have identified minor double die obverses, die cracks, and occasional off-center strikes. These anomalies occur during the minting process, often as a result of imperfections in die creation or excessive stress on production equipment. For example, hub doubling can happen when the die receives multiple impressions slightly out of alignment, creating a subtle but detectable doubling effect in the design. Similarly, die cracks form when repeated use causes fractures in the die, leaving raised lines on the coin's surface. Minting errors can transform even a heavily circulated coin into something remarkable. A scratched and toned 1974 D-half dollar might appear damaged to the untrained eye, but if it carries a rare error, such as a dramatic off-center strike or a clear doubled die, it could command a premium far above face value. These errors are essentially accidents frozen in time, each one unique, and collectors are often willing to pay for that uniqueness. The key lies in authentication and proper identification, as subtle differences can mean the difference between a common coin and a highly sought-after collectible. Condition plays a decisive role in determining value. In lower circulated grades like fine or very fine, a typical 1974 D-half dollar might only be worth a small premium over face value. In about uncirculated condition, values begin to rise modestly, especially if the coin retains original luster. However, in mint state grades, particularly MS65 and above, the market becomes far more competitive. Coins with exceptional eye appeal, strong strikes, and natural tunning can reach into the hundreds of dollars. If a rare variety or error is present, those numbers can climb even higher, depending on demand and visibility of the anomaly. Auction records, while not always headline-grabbing for this specific date, still reveal the power of quality and rarity. The finest known examples, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, have achieved impressive prices due to registry-set competition. Collectors building top-ranked sets compete for the highest-graded coins, driving up prices for the best of the best. Provenance can also play a role. Coins from well-known collections or with documented histories often attract additional attention and stronger bids. In the end, the 1974 D-half dollar is a reminder that value is not always obvious. What appears to be a scratched, toned coin from everyday circulation could, under the right circumstances, hold hidden significance. Whether through a rare variety, exceptional preservation, or collector demand driven by registry competition, this coin proves that even modern issues can become extraordinary. It's a quiet testament to the idea that in the world of numismatics, rarity is not just about how many were made, but how many truly survived in a condition worth remembering. In the vast world of coin collecting, few stories are as quietly fascinating as that of the 1992 D. Kennedy half dollar, a coin that, at first glance, seems ordinary, even overlooked. But beneath its worn surfaces, its scratches, and its subtle tunning lies a deeper narrative shaped by history, rarity, and the relentless pursuit of perfection by collectors. This is not just a 50-cent piece. It is a fragment of American culture, struck during a transitional era and in rare circumstances, capable of commanding surprising attention in the numismatic marketplace. To understand this coin, we must step back into 1992, a year when the United States stood at the edge of a new global order following the end of the Cold War. Under the leadership of George H.W. Bush, the nation was navigating economic uncertainty and shifting geopolitical dynamics. Amid these changes, the U.S. Mint continued producing the Kennedy half dollar, a coin originally created to honor the legacy of John F. Kennedy. By 1992, the half dollar had largely disappeared from everyday circulation, becoming more of a collector's piece than a coin of commerce. Yet it was still being minted in significant numbers at the Denver Mint, marked with the D mint mark. The Kennedy half dollar itself is a masterpiece of mid-20th century design. The obverse, designed by Gilray Roberts, features a striking portrait of President Kennedy, capturing both dignity and resolve. The reverse, crafted by Frank Gasparo, displays the presidential seal, an eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows and an olive branch. Even decades after its introduction, the design remained largely unchanged in 1992, a testament to its enduring symbolism. However, by this time, the composition had shifted to copper-nickel clad, removing the intrinsic silver value that earlier issues once held, and placing even greater emphasis on condition and rarity for collectors. Officially, the 1992 D. Kennedy half dollar had a mintage of over 15 million coins, a figure that would suggest abundance rather than scarcity. But seasoned collectors know that mintage alone does not define rarity. What truly matters is how many of those coins survived in collectible condition. The reality is that most 1992 D halves were either stored in bulk, mishandled, or circulated lightly, leading to widespread surface damage, contact marks, and poor eye appeal. High-grade examples, especially those with sharp strikes and minimal imperfections, are far scarcer than the raw numbers would imply. When analyzing survival rates, one must consider the quality of strikes produced at the Denver Mint during that period. Many 1992 D coins exhibit weak details, particularly in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers. Coins that escape these issues, showing crisp detail and strong luster, are highly sought after. Even more intriguing are coins found in circulated condition that display unusual characteristics, such as die cracks, off-center strikes, or subtle double die features. These anomalies, though often overlooked by casual observers, can dramatically elevate a coin's desirability and value. Varieties and minting errors are where the story becomes truly compelling. While the 1992 D is not widely known for major headline-grabbing varieties like earlier doubled dies, there are documented instances of minor doubled dies, die clashes, and strike-through errors. These occur during the minting process when dies become misaligned, damaged, or contaminated. For example, hub doubling can happen during the die creation stage when the design is impressed multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a ghosted effect. Similarly, die cracks form from repeated stress, leaving raised lines on the finished coin. Each of these imperfections tells a story of the minting process under pressure, turning what might seem like flaws into collectible signatures of rarity. Ironically, some of the most fascinating 1992 D Kennedy half dollars are those found in circulated condition. A scratched, toned example might appear damaged, but under closer inspection, natural toning can actually enhance a coin's visual appeal if it developed organically over time. Collectors often differentiate between original surfaces and those altered by cleaning. A cleaned coin, stripped of its natural patina, typically loses value, while a naturally toned coin, especially one with attractive coloration, can command a premium. This makes surface preservation one of the most critical factors in determining a coin's market standing. Professional grading plays a decisive role in unlocking the true potential of such coins. Third-party grading services evaluate factors like strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. A 1992 D Kennedy half dollar graded MS65 or higher can be significantly more valuable than its lower grade counterparts, even if both coins share the same mintage origin. In circulated grades like fine or very fine, values remain modest, often just above face value. In about uncirculated condition, prices may rise slightly, while mint state examples, especially those approaching MS66 or MS67, can reach into the hundreds of dollars depending on demand and visual quality. Auction records for the 1992 D Kennedy half dollar reveal a fascinating pattern. While most examples trade quietly, exceptional specimens, those graded at the highest levels or featuring notable errors, have achieved standout results. These coins often owe their premium prices to a combination of factors, being among the finest known examples, possessing unique visual characteristics, and attracting attention from registry set competitors. Registry sets, where collectors compete to assemble the highest graded collections, can drive prices far beyond typical market levels, especially when only a handful of top-tier coins exist. In the end, the story of the 1992 D Kennedy half dollar is not about instant riches or guaranteed windfalls. It is about nuance, discovery, and the hidden potential within everyday objects. A scratched and toned coin, dismissed by many, can become a prized collectible under the right circumstances, if it possesses rarity, originality, and a story worth telling. And while it may only be worth 50 cents in commerce, in the world of numismatics, it stands as a reminder that even the most ordinary coins can carry extraordinary value when history, condition, and collector passion align. In the vast world of American coin collecting, few stories are as quietly fascinating as that of the 1996 D Kennedy half dollar, a coin that, at first glance, appears ordinary, even overlooked, yet under the right circumstances can command surprising attention and value. This is not a tale of instant riches, but rather a slow-burning mystery shaped by condition, rarity within commonality, and the hidden nuances that only seasoned collectors recognize. As we step into this story, we're not just examining a coin, We're uncovering how something minted in the millions can still hold pockets of scarcity that turn a simple 50-cent piece into a prized collectible. To understand the significance of the 1996 D issue, we need to revisit the United States in 1996, a time marked by economic expansion, the rise of the Internet era, and a renewed sense of optimism. It was the year of the Atlanta Olympics, a period when American identity and progress were on full display. During this time, the United States Mint continued its steady production of circulating coinage, including the Kennedy half-dollar, a denomination that, by the mid-1990s, had largely disappeared from everyday commerce. While millions were struck, most Americans rarely used them, unintentionally preserving large quantities in relatively high grades. The Kennedy half-dollar series itself, first introduced in 1964 to honor John F. Kennedy, carries deep emotional and historical significance. Designed by Gilroy Roberts for the obverse and Frank Gasparo for the reverse, the coin's imagery has remained largely unchanged for decades. Kennedy's left-facing portrait exudes calm dignity, while the reverse features the presidential seal, an eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch. By 1996, this design had become iconic, yet so familiar that many overlooked the subtle differences in strike quality and preservation that separate ordinary coins from exceptional ones. The 1996 D Kennedy half-dollar was minted in Denver, as indicated by the D mint mark, with an official mintage exceeding 20 million pieces. On paper, that number suggests abundance, and it is. However, mintage alone does not determine rarity. What truly matters is how many coins survive in high-grade condition, particularly those with sharp strikes, minimal contact marks, and original surfaces. Many coins from this era were stored in bags, leading to abrasions and dull luster, meaning that pristine examples are far scarcer than raw production numbers imply. When we analyze survival rates, the picture becomes clearer. While millions exist in circulated grades, far fewer survive in mint state conditions, and even fewer achieve top-tier grades such as MS-66 or MS-67. Strike quality from the Denver Mint in 1996 was generally decent but not exceptional, with many coins showing softness in the hair details above Kennedy's ear or weakness in the eagle's breast feathers. These seemingly minor imperfections become critical under magnification, where grading services draw sharp distinctions that can dramatically influence market value. Varieties and minting errors add another layer of intrigue. Although the 1996 D is not widely known for major headline varieties like doubled dies or overdates, subtle anomalies do exist. Minor doubled dies, die cracks, and off-center strikes occasionally surface, and these can significantly increase desirability, especially when visible without magnification. Errors occur during the complex minting process, beginning with die creation, where a master hub impresses the design onto working dies. Any misalignment during this process can result in hub doubling. Additionally, worn or stressed dies can produce cracks or distortions, while mechanical mishaps during striking can lead to off-center or weakly struck coins. Interestingly, some of the most compelling stories come from circulated coins that reveal unexpected characteristics. A worn 1996 D half-dollar might initially seem insignificant, but if it carries a clear die crack, a rotated die, or a dramatic strike-through error, it can attract strong collector interest. These coins often slip through unnoticed, only to be rediscovered years later, proving that value is not always tied to pristine condition, but to uniqueness and visibility of the anomaly. Surface preservation plays a crucial role in determining desirability. Natural tunning, subtle hues of gold, blue, or violet that develop over time, can enhance a coin appeal, while harsh cleaning can permanently damage its surface and reduce its value. Collectors and grading services prioritize originality, looking for coins that retain their mint luster and have not been altered. Professional grading by major services provides authentication and consistency, often making the difference between a modest collectible and a sought-after piece. In terms of market value, most 1996 D. Kennedy half dollars in circulated condition trade for only a small premium over face value. In about uncirculated grades, they may reach a few dollars, while standard mint state examples typically range from $5 to $20 depending on quality. However, high-end certified coins, particularly those graded MS-66 or higher, can command significantly more, sometimes reaching into the low hundreds. Error coins or exceptional specimens with eye appeal can exceed these ranges, especially when they capture the attention of specialized collectors. Auction records for this date are not filled with million-dollar headlines, but they do reveal a consistent pattern. The finest known examples, particularly those with strong eye appeal and technical perfection, achieve the highest prices. Registry set competition, where collectors strive to assemble the highest graded sets, plays a major role here. A single point difference in grade can mean the difference between an average coin and one that becomes fiercely contested, pushing prices far beyond typical expectations for a modern issue. In the end, the story of the 1996 D. Kennedy half dollar is not about instant fortune, but about the fascinating intersection of history, condition, and rarity within abundance. It reminds us that even a coin minted in the millions can hold hidden layers of value, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to look closely. And while it may not be a silver coin or a century-old rarity, under extraordinary circumstances, even this modern half dollar can transform into a collectible that commands respect, curiosity, and, occasionally, a surprisingly strong price in the marketplace.